Hi everyone, and welcome to week 3 of the course. This week I'm going to be talking about research and the context analysis paragraph. You'll want to look over this video carefully because I will show you things that will help you in the database and also how to properly document your work. So in the course content section, under Writing in the Humanities, we are in the pre-writing folder this week. It begins with some recommended readings in the They Say, I Say textbook. And then scrolling down, there's a sample essay and also a sample outline. The first thing I want to show you is the Researching Context folder. This is going to be the one that requires you to jump into the database and get a source for your paper. I know some of you have already done that, and you've already found some context for your artwork. If you haven't, that's okay. I'm going to sort of walk you through the best way to do that. Now, first things first, before I jump into the database, in the second paragraph here, it says there's a sample essay. This is a finished product in MLA form, and we're going to get to the formatting and stuff later. But I just want to remind you about what the final essay is going to look like. Once again, you've got your introduction paragraph with the thesis statement. As I scroll down, the second paragraph is basically just describing what the artwork looks like. The third paragraph is the element analysis. This is actually the paragraph that was your brainstorming analysis from last week. So when you did the brainstorming assignment, you created this paragraph where you were supposed to talk about elements from the visual vocabulary video. Like in this sample one, they talk about lines, shapes, colors, and space. Now, when you get your feedback for the brainstorming analysis paragraph, make sure that you look at any comments I left you and make edits or changes to that paragraph once we get into creating the final essay, because you want to reduce any errors, fix anything that needs to be fixed. If you didn't approach this paragraph correctly, you want to go back and revise it again. So that brainstorming analysis is going to be this paragraph here, and then the research we're doing for this week is going into this paragraph, which is paragraph 4, the context analysis. The last paragraph is, of course, the conclusion paragraph, and at the end, on a page by itself, is the works cited, which on this one only has 2 things, which is perfectly fine. This is the database source for this essay, and then this is the actual artwork that was looked at. So that final reference is for this piece of art. Now, for this assignment, you have to go into the database and you have to find a source that puts your artwork into context. Basically, it says you might consider things like the time period, the country, community, or social issues surrounding the image. You might also talk about what something in the image might represent or stand for. So when you're looking at your image, sometimes the figure is symbolic. Okay, for instance, in this image of Buddha, what does Buddha symbolize or represent to people? And so that could be context for this particular image. Or let's say I chose this image. If I look up in the database the title of this photograph, I might not find anything. But I don't have to look up just the title. I can look up the time period or the circumstances. It appears that this child is working in what it looks like a textile mill. So maybe this photo is making a statement about child labor, and I could talk about that movement or that time period to put this photo into context. If I put it into context, I understand it better because now I know about the history of the time period or what the circumstances were surrounding this moment. For some other pieces of art, You could perhaps just type in the title of the work, and maybe someone's already written a lot about this specific piece of art and what it's supposed to represent or symbolize. So there are lots of ways you can approach context. It doesn't have to be just searching the name of the artwork. Sometimes you're not going to find that. So sometimes you have to think about the history behind the time period or the movement that might have been going on at the time. So try to broaden your ideas and look for many things in the database when it comes to finding context for your work. To start off, I need to get into the database to begin my research. So in this folder, there is once again the same link for the Gale Reference Library. Remember, your login is your student number, and the password is the last 4 digits of your Social Security number. So student number, last 4 digits of your social. Once I get into the database, I can begin my search with any of those types of things, like I said, that might actually help you with your research. Now let's say I find some things in the database. I might not find exactly what I want just on the first search. The first source might not be the best source. So you do want to read a few things. Don't just stop at the first thing you find. But once you do find something, you can click on it. And then depending on what it is, like this one for instance is an ebook, which you can read in pages, or it looks like you could just read the text as well. It varies depending on the source. You just kind of have to take a look at it. Now let's say I read through this and I find information that works for my artwork and I want to use this source. The first thing I need to do is retrieve my citation. So over here on the right hand side, you can see there says Citation Tools. I'm going to click on that. I want to make sure it says MLA 8th edition because it's an art paper. An art paper uses MLA. And then I'm going to copy this and I'm going to use this for my assignment.